but you can share it on yours as well.
Later.
Yeah. I see what you're doing. Yeah. Okay. So now we're live.
Yay! And we look up there. Okay, good. Well, hello everybody. Can you so they can see like the split screen? Is that what they're seeing, or what do they see?
They're seeing the split screen. On the right hand side where you see it, they're seeing both of these.
So it's like equal. We look equal on the screens.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool. Because where I am, I'm a little corner, and you're the big one, which is fine. But I didn't know how they're seeing it. So, hello everybody. I appreciate being in Christina's feed because I know there's lots of people paying attention to Christina.
Let's hope so. No one. We have one viewer this far, and I can't tell who that is. But Alorah, I wanted to invite you to do this Facebook Live because tomorrow is our second Midnight with Mary.
That's right.
In Los Angeles. And we're also bringing Midnight with Marys to New York City on May 11th. So I think, when a lot of people, they read the copy of what Midnight and Mary is. If you go to undergroundunattached.com, you can see all these beautiful experiences, and Alorah is one of our guides. And I was talking as I thought this was an interesting way to differentiate experiences. So if we think of love and relationship, we're always going for like these two things. We want security and stability and knowingness. And then we also want mystery and surprise. And so these two things are kind of conflicting with one another. Yet what I find Midnight with Mary is this sort of mysterious experience right now. So I thought that today we would be able to share with those who are interested in joining, who are curious about what is Midnight with Mary. And we can kind of debunk some of the questions or the myths around what it is that we're doing, gathering men and women on a Friday night, beginning at 9 to midnight, and also incorporating a ceremonial use of cannabis, or like we like to call it, Mary.
That's right. Well, I'm glad we're doing it because I just came from a interview with the owner of Foria, which is a pleasure-based version of cannabis. It's a company that's making products specifically for female pleasure, and I've known about their spray that you use topically in the yoni area on the outside and on the inside, and it's getting rave reviews, and I tested it some years ago, and I can add my testimony.
I recently gave it as a gift for a bridal shower.
You got that? You gave that gift for a bridal shower? Yeah. And now they're expanding because cannabis is becoming more legal everywhere. They have now a suppository that will keep you from having horrible menstrual cramps, which is like a big deal. Like that is, so many girls have problems with that. And they have some other interesting, I don't think I'll get specific, but anyway, I did just interview him, and the interesting thing is that we still have such a culture that is afraid of pleasure that people don't go around going, "What'd you do for pleasure yesterday?" No, they don't say that. They say, "What'd you do for fun?" But pleasure is somehow not talked about. But I believe that what we have to do is start having new ways to experience pleasure. And that's what Midnights with Mary is it's a safe space in which the natural facilitation of your body awareness that happens through cannabis. So cannabis is something that both relaxes and focuses the autonomic nervous system. So it gets you to breathe deeper and let go and not be in your head so much. And then it lets you smell or feel or taste or see or hear all the senses wake up. And so then the question is, what do you do with those senses? Well, as you know, because I chat your ear off all the time about this, we live in a world I say is mostly talk and fuck. Maybe I'm not supposed to say that on the live, but hopefully it's fine. So because we don't have, like they say that in the North, in the Eskimo world, the Eskimos have a lot of different words for snow because they have lots of different kinds of snow. They're very familiar with snow. There's not just snow. There's the snow you don't step on and the snow you this and the snow you that. Well, I'm hearing an echo. Is it echoing? It just started echoing. Do you think it's echoing?
No, I don't hear it echoing, but I'm going to shut my door.
Okay. So what we don't have is we don't have a rich distinction in the area of pleasure and sensuality. We just basically have collapsed sensuality and sexuality together, and it leaves us kind of in a world where we just feel safe talking to each other. I'm always disturbed that when you go to a party, for the most part, people these days have a wine glass in their hand. Well, a wine glass can break and it can spill. So it really is almost like carrying around something that blocks you from contact with people. It leaves you in a talking world. And the only other world that people know very much about is the world where you start having some kind of sensuous touch with somebody because it is personal, because you want it to go somewhere. You're interested in you may not get to fuck, but the desire is there. You're going in a personal sexual interest direction. So that's all we've really got. And because it's true that there's very few people that you really want to get that personal with, you end up in a very lonely world to a large extent where people are just talking and not touching much. So my world is about making a clear distinction between sensuality and sexuality. That distinction is liquid. If you're using your tongue or you're touching areas that liquid comes from, you're in the world of sex. So we don't do that. And we also don't discriminate how we're going to engage with other people. We're practicing loving. We're practicing how you can lean into somebody else, how you can gaze with somebody else, how you can do all these beautiful, sensuous, non-sexual things with people and find out that just doing them with anybody is wonderful. You don't need to think that person is someone that's up to your level of what you'd want to date. So that's really for me what Midnights with Mary is an opportunity to come together to practice loving in wonderful, new, physical, spiritual, sensual ways. Bond with everybody that you do it with. Have a great time. Not be out on a Friday night looking for the one, because as I've said many times, there must be only one because nobody's finding them. And be in belonging with a great group of conscious people. So that's what we're doing. That's Midnights with Mary.
So this is going to be our second one, and it was. What I love is that we try these things and we put them out there, and then we receive the feedback. And one of the things that we learned within that first experience is that people are craving more structure.
That's right.
So tomorrow on Friday, that is what we're going to be providing. There are the exercises and the activities as well as the conversations, because a lot of what I receive in my presence and my connections with you, which I'm so blessed to have, is this tremendous amount of wisdom that I continue to absorb. And it also you know, at times it's triggering me. You know, I'll receive something and I'll be like, I don't know if that makes me uncomfortable. I'm not quite, you know, sure how I feel about that. But it always is starting this, like, sending me on this, like, deep introspection of, like, self-query. Mm-hmm. What can I take from this information on shares? Yesterday, when we were on the phone and we were hashing out what the night looked like, you know, we spent the hour and a half on the phone. And I, in the beginning, you shared that tomorrow evening, one of the things we were going to focus on is practice loving.
That's right.
So right now we have about 10 men and 10 women registered to join, and they're all beautiful, interesting, unique beings. And so I look at the list and I'm like, oh my God, like I hesitate, like I got a little bit, at first resistant to, like, how am I going to put all these people in the space and we're going to practice love. And you so clear, as I continue to listen, because I think sometimes when we start judging before we actually hear the conversation of what you're aiming to communicate. And I love the story that you shared of when you were in the restaurant or the
McDonald's. I for the first time in forever, I was kind of in somewhere where there was nothing but, like, there was the McDonald's and I wanted a coffee drink. And, you know, I figured I could do a McDonald's coffee drink. So you want me to tell that story?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I went in and I didn't do the drive-through, so I went inside and, you know, people were standing around and there was a man standing there and he was disheveled and he was a little heavy and he was ethnic in some way and his face was very puffy and his eyes were just kind of like, I don't know. I just didn't know what was going on with that guy, right? He wasn't an attractive energy to look at. But at any rate, I was standing, you know, 3 feet away from him or something while he was waiting for his food. And then when he got his food, I heard him say under his breath, now I got to figure out how to get out of here. And I looked and I saw he had a stick, a big tall stick, and I realized he was blind, or at least hard of seeing. So immediately I said, can I help you? And he said, yeah, I'm trying to get to So I took his arm and I ended up walking with him through the restaurant and to a couple of different doors until I got him to the door he wanted. And, you know, it gave me such joy. I'm sure he's forgotten about it, but we're still talking about it. So this is how random acts of kindness work. When you do a random act of kindness, the person receiving the random act of kindness gets endorphins released in their body, but the person giving the random act of kindness gets the same amount of endorphins released, and the people watching get endorphins. And I suspect that the person giving gets the most because, see, I'm still getting endorphins from remembering that moment of not about myselfness, of generous loving to a person that, you know, many people wouldn't want to touch, right? Or I remember another time where I was in Santa Rosa. I was in Santa Rosa and I was walking down the sidewalk and I wasn't looking where I was going and I smacked into something and it stopped me. And there was a homeless man on the bus stop right next to me. And, you know, he saw me get smacked and I got smacked and he said something. Anyway, I sat down and I started talking to him and I eye gazed with him because I wanted to get that spirit to show up. And I got him to look left eye to left eye with me and I just beat with him for a little bit. And then I put my hand on his chest and I talked to his spirit for a little bit. And, you know, those are where you discover how loving you are, is when you're really loving people for no reason. And it's easy to do it with people that are not, it's easier to do it with homeless people because you're clear they're not your potential partner. When you get more in a social scene where there is that tension under there of you want a partner, do they like you, whatever, all that stuff, then we get more protective. It's funny, you'd think we'd be more open, but in truth, we tend to get more protective and be less free to be loving. So what I'm saying in the event is let's don't look for love here, that special love. Don't be looking at each person to wonder if they're the one. They probably aren't. The one is probably not there. So now let's love who's there. I went to a thing, a man named Matt Kahn spoke last night at Agape, and he talks about whatever's arising, love that. And so tomorrow night, what will be arising is whoever's there, their face, their eyes, their smile, their energy. Each person is going to be there. And so we want to practice loving what's arising. Oh, look at what's arising. Think about the different people that were there last time and how sweet it was at the end when we focused on each one and we really saw the beauty in each one. So what that they aren't the one you're going to live your life with? This is your life. Are you going to spend your life looking for someone and missing all the ones that are going through? And obviously, I can't do it if I think that person thinks I'm going to get liquid with them. Then I have to hold back. So that's why it's so important to have an environment where we learn to connect physically in safe, fun, new ways that actually are deeply fulfilling and missing in all of our lives.
Yeah. I think that too, it's a practice.
It is.
And to be in a space where you can practice doing that, because for most of us, we didn't grow up in, households where that was necessarily practiced. It's not a topic covered in our educational curriculums. And as we're out there, whether we're in relationship or not in a relationship, it's always this practice of non-attachment, of not having an agenda, of not trying to manipulate a specific situation to make somebody like me or to fall in love with me, or it's really about practicing loving the person in front of you, and at that same time, the practice of loving yourself.
That's right. Well, that's how, people say that all the time, you've got to love yourself. And I used to think, what does that mean? How do you do that, right? But I have found out how I do it. How I do it is by loving all kinds of people. My ability to love whoever's there and really play with whoever is there and, see the divine in whoever is there, I do end up loving myself. I love who I am. I love the loving being I am. And I think it has kept me enormously available, to people of all ages, because I'm vitally alive with the amount of love that I'm giving in the world. Half the people that I have close around me, I met because I was down at the beach wind dancing, and I pulled them into wind dance and started playing with them. So just welcoming everybody and loving everybody. And I think we talked about this, and I think it's an important piece. When you go to a yoga practice, when people get ready and go out to do yoga, they don't get there and go, oh, there's only 3 people here, I think I'll leave. They go and they practice for themselves, no matter who's there. That's how I invite people to come to this, is if there's only a few, then let's make that great. If there's a lot, make that great, but make it your practice. And if people do that and they start coming consistently, that's what will build community. Community will build out of people sharing, just like your girlfriend that you went to school with. You became friends because you went consistently to something that, you know, over time built a bond. Mm-hmm. So this is what we're beginning. This is the possibility, is that through not just talking, but actually the nonverbal practices, we will build a bond that isn't currently present in most people's lives. And I think it's really good for couples because, I've got to put a cord in my computer here so it won't go to sleep. Let me do that, honey. You talk. Okay.
Well, I think that's pretty much it for Midnight with Mary. You know, we want them to come and join us. I have so many more questions that I think we'll do another time, or people can join us on Friday and we can explore it together and have this conversation in the room with
white. Remember, wear white. Wear white. And also, I just want to say that, you know, the men are going to get to learn to be like heroes. And the women are going to just be celebrating their beauty and their sensuality. So I feel like that's a key fun part of it, is that we're going to be celebrating beauty. We're going to I have a little phrase about the men, where women it's where women express their eros and beauty, and men expand in presence and strength. How do men bring presence and strength? And how do women express their eros and beauty? That's what we're going to be doing.
Yes, I love it. So Midnight with Mary tomorrow in Marina Del Rey. You can see all the details. Message me. All the details are at undergroundunattached.com. And we'd love to share this with you. Let's be together and learn about love together in the same room. And thank you, Alorah, for being our guide and being a teacher and actually living through life and gathering all this wisdom that now you have to share with us.
It is definitely my joy. Thank you, sweetie. Okay.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Facebook friends.
Bye.